Good morning or good afternoon when this video reaches you from Yummy B TV, and sending loads of love to you as usual. But I've said that already today. Now, some material coming up now, right? This one is part one of when undefeated fighters in a prison setting who talk a good one, who have had a couple of fights while you've been on the landings with them during a year or two, that you're with them at that stage. And they won those fights, and they tell everyone they've never been knocked out, never lost a fight, never been on the floor. The proof's in the pudding. That we've seen a couple of fights or incidents from them that you could believe in your mind to say, well, he's quite tough and he's backed up what he says. And, you know, we hear it a lot with trash talking outside before big fights, where fighters say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to this round, and you lost this, I'll do this, I'm going to mangle you, and all kind of stuff. Muhammad Ali was the greatest at it because why? He predicted 3 or 4 times on what round he was going to knock you out, and he got it done. But of course, there were many more times than those right predictions that he made where he didn't get the rounds right, didn't even win the fight, etc., etc. But when I was growing up, I was believing what Ali was saying because it happened once, twice, 3 or 4 times. So reinforcement in my mind. Well, Ali said he's going to win in the 3rd or 4th. It's true. So let's get all our money out and go and bet on him down there because it's tried and tested, right? Loads of fighters do it today when they've got no real thing where they know that they know they're not going to win, or it's going to be closer than what they're saying, and they're saying, I'm going to mangle you, I'm going to knock your head off, I'm going to keep you at bay with a jab, I'm going to stop you in this round and that round and everything. But 75% of the time after the fights, it didn't go the way that the fighters told everyone that it would. Now, when you get a fighter that over a long period of time does his predictions, and more times than not it comes out as the way that he said it, you're kind of thinking when he said that he's believing in himself. And no, but the majority of trash talking goes badly, goes wrong a lot of the time. It is my belief. And then it's silly really, because after the fight you're saying well done, or I said some hurtful things, but it was all, basically then you're telling us it was all a joke, and I was just doing it to sell fights. I was using mind game tactics to try and make you weaker and believe in me more than you believe in yourself. Whatever the reasons, don't listen too much to trash talk before professional or normal fighting stuff on the outside world. Now, in a prison environment, very, very different. As a really gassed up, big mouth bastard in my 20s, right? I'll talk particularly about this occasion when I won a couple of fights in Camp Hill, and they were good straighteners. First time I've really been kind of tested, but I looked at absolute bee's knees. It all fell into place. Like in the build up towards it all, I hadn't had a fight there for the first 6-9 months, but I was telling them, well, listen, I can have it, I'll have a row. They see the performance in the gym. I used to wrestle a lot with people and look strong, and other boys, younger guys, they're looking and think, well, he can, he's strong, he might be able to, do I believe in it? And it's kind of striking psychological fear up people, but really I wasn't as good as what I was saying. At the time, I really did think I was as good as what I was saying. But I knew that, all right, so in the early bits going up through Aylesbury and all that, I had a few, but I didn't have enough straighteners to really say that I was tested. So I hadn't had really no beatings. So I was walking around saying, no, I ain't never been on the floor, never been knocked out. Because you hadn't had loads and loads of fights. So then winning those 2 in Camp Hill at that time on the wing, it's quite hard. It is when you're building up your reputation in that life. But of course, trash talking, you are left with egg on your face. Never mind on the outside when you can kind of get away with it a little bit, but people are not going to really listen to you too much again when you over talk and you lose very, very convincingly. So the dangers of those men, what I'm going to give you on my part one of, have had the fights in front of us, a couple of occasions, fights with screws, beat up a couple of inmates, and you get talking to them, and they're not everybody's flavour on the wing either, because they gas so much that men don't really like a big blabbermouth and a show off, do they? And people always talking themselves up and putting other people down and that kind of stuff, right? But when you're talking all that talk like these men did. Never going to be whatever. And then you get into fights, and you know, after all the talk you've done, everything that you said couldn't happen to you happens to you, and it's a lonely place in those places when you've done all the talking and you've kind of built up your following or friends or the fit for whatever reasons that you can have a row. And a lot of the time, fear and love is not the same thing. So just because they fear you and think that you can have a row and you're better than them, and they befriend you because they want to hang on to you because you can have a fight and you might be able to protect them and it looks good being around you. When you lose, the love is apparent and not, because they'll be, yeah, well, I'm not going to go around. As soon as you get a defeat there, you'll always have a few that loved you anyway, you know, for different reasons, but relying solely on being a hard man and I'm the best at everything, stick with me, I'm a home banker. No. So I'll take you back to one in particular, a young little light-skinned kid from Liverpool, right? Only in his 20s, not used to being around the heavy mob, just got there, had a couple of victories by way of fighting with his own age group, and he was quick and he was fast, but you know, hanged around on his own a little bit and was kind of bullying in certain ways and talking down to people, belittling people. There was this geezer, a good quiet geezer, but big massive geezer, right? But used to give people and look after them with weed and whatnot and that kind of stuff. And he was looking after this young kid. Now, on a couple of occasions, he didn't give him. He said, no, I'm not giving it. So this young guy was taking it personal and thinking, well, all right, I'll take it off you kind of thing, and you will give me and I'll put it on you all. So after being left out a couple of times, he turns up in the cell one morning, right? 3 or 4 people sitting in the cell. And, you know, I used to go in there now and again. The geezer was all right. He used to look after me a little bit as well. I knew that he was a strong individual. I didn't think he was quite great with his hands, but, you know, I knew that he could overpower people and was stronger than most in the wrestling kind of physical state of affairs, right? So this young kid stood up and said, listen, you're all pussies for me in here, and I'll rob all of you. None of you are bad men for me. Any of you lot got anything to say to me, say it now. Now you got 3 geezers and this geezer, the big one, sitting there looking at him, and you know, they're smoking a bit on their heights and that kind of stuff, and no reply. So, you know, he started looking around the cell like he was going to start helping himself, until the big one says, look, I've looked after you, mate. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't push it with me. You're not going to come in here and take my things. That kind. Nah, what do you want to know? Can you believe that 2 days before this, trying to coach this youngster about coming to place environments like the Cat A's, etc., of not coming across in the way that he's doing, because I've seen it too many times. You're going to find out that you're not who you are and you're going to get severely hurt, mate. So, and a couple of days before, when he said, I've never been beaten, Uncle Yabby, I'm the man, you know how quick I am, and he's showing me on the pads, and I was saying, yeah. I said, listen, do yourself a favour. Don't ever say that you can't lose or you've never been knocked out, blah, blah, blah. I said it way back in the day, and I ended up on the seat of my pants, and I felt so sad and tearful afterwards with the knowledge of talking it up so much that when you hit the deck now, you're looking around, you're thinking, oh, what do they think of me now? Do they think I'm a wanker? You know what I mean? That you're on the floor, you said that you couldn't go on, and then they start walking past, all the paranoia sets in. Oh, he doesn't want to talk to me no more. I'm a wanker, I better have another fight. I better prove that, you know, the kind of shit that goes on in that life. So I told him that, and now this incident takes place 2 days later. They go down, the big geezer says to him, all right, let's all go downstairs. They go down into the video room, right? Everybody starts locking off the doors, and I'm thinking, you lot, after the way that he spoke to you, you should be all putting it on the young kid anyway. I didn't want the young kid to get too harmed. So I come down there. It's a full house, about 50 or 60 people in there. So they've gone in. The young kid's thrown about 3 or 4 or 5 punches, and he is quicker than the big guy, right? He's landing, and you know, but the big guy's taking all the blows. Then folds him, gets him into a little struggle choke, gets him round, folds him over, and chokes him out. So he passed out. And then hits him while he's choked out, leaving him with bruises over his eyes and all that. It gets stopped and everything, right? I think the screws came or it got split up and later on, right? So he comes round, the young kid comes round too afterwards. And I've gone up to his cell. I said to him, you see what I mean, youngster? About saying, he goes, yeah, but what could I do? I got jumped. Everybody jumped me and knocked me out thing, and I was just on the floor, and I got all these bruises, but I can't remember getting the punches and all that, and blah, blah, blah. So what could I do? I was outnumbered. I said, no, you weren't outnumbered. He goes, what do you mean I weren't outnumbered? I said, no, you lost. You was knocked out, I explained to him that he got the bruises after while he was knocked out, if you get what I mean. He's gone, no, they all jumped you. I said, nah, it was 1-on-1, mate. You lost. And he walked around for a couple of days, like believing in his head that he'd be jumped and everyone. And the amount of people that came out and started talking down to him after all these weeks and months of talking down and belittling people now with the shock of being defeated and hurt. He was probably telling the truth for the first time in his life. He's not answering back and thing, because obviously self-esteem and confidence in who he thought he was has now demoralised him until 2 days later, he got moved. He left. I just see him walking past the window with the screws, and I said, what? He goes, oh, I'm out. They're moving me, saying that I did this, and I was thinking, nah, you've asked for a move. So it hurt him so much that he couldn't face being around people again. That's what it felt like to me. Doesn't mean that I'm right, of course, but there you have it. So for him, not knowing how he got choked out and not remembering, he's probably thinking he got jumped and all that, but really he lost the 1-on-1 and there's no rules. He says he's better at that. But hold on, with street fighting and fights that happen like that, it's just because you're a better boxer or you can throw, it's not every man that's going to want to be able to match you with your hands and is going to start wrestling and that kind of stuff. So you've got to take the rough with the smooth. But, hit it home to him after I told him as well. So that was that particular okay, that's 12 minutes. All right, I'll do another one because I got another big one, Liverpool one, of another undefeated. But what do we know? In later life, I don't do it. Now I say, no, I can't let them fight. No, I'm vulnerable. No, I'm not, because you want to have the element of surprise over these bigger guys and better guys. So they expect, you don't want to be known for being the best and all that, because they're going to try harder. They're going to make sure, you've got no edge in any kind of way. Well, that's the way that I evened it out at the end. What do we learn, Uncle Yami, from part 1 of this? Don't talk yourself up and never say that you can't hit the deck, and never say that you can never lose, because you're only seconds or a minute away from exactly that.